Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we unpack a stack of sources to pull out the most important insights for you. Today, we're diving into a question that probably resonates with just about everyone listening. Whether you're feeling a bit stuck in a personal project or maybe navigating a tricky team dynamic or even, trying to steer a whole organization. The question is, how do you actually change what simply isn't working? Our source material for this deep dive is centered around a really great summary by Bobby Powers of Dan Heath's latest book, Reset: How to Change What's Not Working. Now, if you know Heath's other stuff like Made to Stick or Decisive, he's got this amazing ability to blend compelling stories, solid research, and importantly, actionable advice. And according to our source, Reset really shifted the reviewer's whole perspective on project management and business operations. So our mission today is to pull out those practical frameworks, those useful examples that can help you troubleshoot problems and just run things more efficiently.
Yeah, and what's so great about this, I think, is just how universal these ideas feel. It's not just for, CEOs or high-level managers. It really applies whether you're a student trying to figure out better study habits, or maybe a small business owner, or honestly, just anyone looking to optimize their day-to-day. The core concepts here, figuring out what really matters and then applying your energy smartly, they're just incredibly powerful. And like you said, it's not just theory. The book is absolutely packed with real-world examples that make these ideas really click.
Okay, so let's get into it. This core idea. How do we actually reset things? How do we genuinely change what's feeling stuck or broken? Heath apparently spent, 2.5 years digging into this for Reset? He drew from over 240 interviews, looked across all sorts of industries, pulled in relevant psychology findings, basically trying to understand how people overcome inertia and actually make progress.
And right at the heart of it all is something called the progress principle. This comes from some really fascinating research by Teresa Amabile and Stephen Kramer. They found that, out of all the things that can boost how people feel at work, their emotions, motivation, perceptions, the single most important factor is making progress in meaningful work.
Making progress. It sounds almost, obvious, right? Like, of course, making progress feels good. But here's the kicker, and this is what our source highlighted as a, quote, stunning oversight. Amabile and Kramer found that most bosses were basically oblivious to this. They didn't see progress as the key motivator for their teams.
Oblivious is a strong word, but yeah, the data backs it up. When managers were surveyed globally, only 5% picked progress as the number one motivator.
5%.
Yeah, it came in dead last.
Wow. So the source says the biggest motivator of employees is nowhere on the radar of the average boss. That's pretty striking. Why do you think that is? Why is that disconnect there?
That's a great question. Maybe it's because progress can often feel small. Incremental, less flashy than a big win or a bonus. But what this principle really pushes us to think about is, for you listening, how often do you or does your team actually see and feel the progress you're making day to day? Because making that progress visible, tangible, that seems to be the key. It's the spark.
Right, making it visible. So Heath takes this core idea of progress and then breaks down the whole reset process into two main parts. First, finding leverage points, and second, restack resources.
Exactly. And leverage points are defined as those specific interventions where just a little bit of effort gives you disproportionate returns. They're the things you really should be focusing on.
The high-impact stuff.
Precisely. And then once you've found those points, the next step is crucial.
Yeah.
You need to align all your assets, your time, money, people, so they all push in that same direction. That's the restack resources on the leverage point part.
So it's not just randomly trying fixes.
Not at all. It's strategic. It's about identifying the most impactful areas first, and then making sure everything you've got is focused right there. It's about, working smarter, fundamentally.
Okay, so finding these leverage points, these things that are, as this source says, both doable and worth doing, things that can move boulders, not pebbles. How do we actually spot them? Heath gives us three main methods, right?
Yes, 3 key ways to look. And the first one, highlighted by MIT's Nelson Repenning, is surprisingly simple but powerful. Go and see the work.
Go and see the work. Get out of the office, basically.
Exactly. Get out of the boardroom, step away from the spreadsheet, and actually immerse yourself in the reality of where the work happens.
The book gives some great examples, like a school principal shadowing a student for a whole day, or a factory manager following one product from start to finish, or even a consultant mapping out every single step of a client project.
Yeah, and the idea is to look really closely. Heath quotes someone saying, "If you aren't embarrassed by what you find, you probably aren't looking closely enough."
I like that. Because you'll spot those things, those long-tolerated bad habits that everyone just works around. Those are often your leverage points. How many times have we all just put up with a clunky process because, well, that's just how it's done?
Oh, constantly. And it ties right into what Tom Chi from Google X talks about, this idea that so many decisions are made in guessathons. We're operating in the medium of guesses.
Instead of reality.
Instead of the medium of reality, we need to base decisions on what we actually observe, not just what we assume.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
So that's method one. Go and see. What's the next one?
The second method challenges how we usually look at data. It's about studying the bright spots.
Bright spots. Okay, what does that mean exactly? Our source mentions averages aren't great for diagnosis.
Right. Averages tell you if there's a problem overall, maybe, but they don't tell you what the problem is or how to fix it. They hide the details. Instead, you actively look for the outliers on the positive side. Those moments or instances where things went unusually well, where you were performing at your best within the goal you've set.
Ah, okay. So find the exceptions where things did work.
Exactly. Because those bright spots are powerful leverage points. Why? Because you know they're possible. You've already done it. The challenge is to, as the source puts it, excavate them from the averages, dig them out.
And the advice is practical.
Uh-huh.
Study daily habits. Ask, what are my best performers, my A performers, doing differently than my F performers? That's fooey. So you spot a bright spot in the data. Then maybe you go and see that specific instance to understand it better.
Precisely. There's a natural connection between the methods. Find the success, then go understand why it was a success.
Got it. Okay, go see, study bright spots.
Yeah.
What's the third method?
The third one is about targeting the constraint or finding the bottleneck. This comes from the theory of constraints, and it's super intuitive once you grasp it. It basically says, identify your single biggest bottleneck, the thing slowing everything else down, and put all your improvement effort right there.
Because effort anywhere else is kind of wasted.
Often, yeah. If you improve something that isn't the bottleneck, the overall system speed doesn't actually increase. The book uses a fantastic example, a donut stand.
Oh yeah, the donut stand. Let's hear it.
Okay, so imagine one person cooks donuts, takes 60 seconds per donut. The other person takes the orders and money, but that takes 90 seconds per customer.
Okay, so order taking is slower. That's the bottleneck.
Exactly. Now, say you buy a super fast new fryer that cuts cooking time to 30 seconds. Does the stand sell donuts any faster?
No, because the order taker still takes 90 seconds. The line won't move any quicker.
Right. The constraint is still the order taker. But what if, instead of the fryer, you hired a second order taker? Now, maybe order taking is faster than cooking.
Ah, so then the constraint shifts to the cooking, and now the faster fryer would actually help speed things up overall.
Precisely. It's such a clear illustration, and the key takeaway is huge. Constraints don't go away. You fix one, the system improves, and then boom, another constraint appears somewhere else. There's always a constraint.
Always a bottleneck somewhere.
Yeah. So investments or efforts that aren't aimed at the current bottleneck might literally do nothing for the overall output. That idea, the constant shifting constraint, does that resonate with you? Does it change how you think about problems?
It really does. It makes me think about, well, all those times I felt busy, like I'm optimizing something,
Yeah.
but the needle isn't moving overall. I was probably focusing on the wrong part, not the real bottleneck.
Okay, so these are powerful ways to find where to push. Go and see, find bright spots, target the constraint. Once we've identified these leverage points, how do we restack resources effectively? The book talks about eliminating waste, right?
Yes, that's a major part of freeing up resources to focus on the leverage points. This leans heavily on lean thinking principles, and the core idea is waste is anything that doesn't add value to your work in the customer's eyes, anything the customer wouldn't willingly pay for. The book uses this handy acronym, downtime, inspired by the Toyota production system, to categorize common types of waste. Downtime. Okay, let's break that down. The examples from the hypothetical bakery were pretty vivid. So D is for defects.
Right, like burned cookies or messed up croissants, stuff you can't sell or have to redo.
O is overproduction. Making too much stuff you don't need yet, like those donuts thrown out at the end of the day.
Yep. W is waiting, idle time, the baker waiting for dough to rise when they could be doing something else useful.
N is non-utilized talent. This one's interesting, like having your skilled cake decorator washing dishes. Such a waste of their expertise.
Huge waste. T is for transportation, unnecessary movement of materials, like storing the flour miles away from the mixer.
Makes sense. M is inventory. Holding too much stock that might expire or become obsolete, like the milk that went bad.
Exactly. M is motion. Unnecessary movement of people, like the counter staff walking back and forth to a coffee pot that's too far away.
Thousands of wasted steps, yeah. And E is excess processing, doing more work than the customer actually values. The example was that fancy French icing technique that looked great to the chef, but the customer didn't notice or care about.
Perfect example. And the power of spotting this downtime waste is huge. Because every bit of waste you eliminate, whether it's wasted time, materials, energy, steps, frees up those resources. And you can immediately redirect or recycle those resources towards your leverage point. Push harder where it actually matters. And crucially, there's no downside. The customer never valued that wasted stuff anyway.
No downside, just freed up resources. That's compelling. And the source also mentioned micromanagement as another form of waste.
Yes, a big one. It eats up manager time, employee time, demotivates people, adds pretty much zero value in the customer's eyes. Definitely fits the definition of waste.
Okay, so eliminating waste frees up resources. What else helps us restack effectively? The book talks about motivation, doesn't it? But in a slightly different way.
It does, and it challenges a really common leadership trap. The approach where leaders cook up a change plan in secret, then sort of unveil it and expect everyone to get on board.
Yeah, the foisting approach, as the source called it.
Exactly. And when people resist, the leaders ask, how do I get buy-in? But Heath offers this really sharp reframe. He says, buy-in is often just code for, how do I get people to want what I want instead of what they already want?
Oh, that's
right.
Insightful. So what's the alternative?
The advice is simple but profound. Go where the energy already is. Tap into the motivation that already exists within your team or yourself. Instead of pushing your agenda, ask, okay, looking at these potential leverage points or solutions, which one would my people actually be most enthusiastic about tackling? Find the overlap.
That's a really different way of thinking about change. And that was a cool, practical idea tied to this. The genius swap.
Yes, the genius swap. I love this one. It's so simple. You ask everyone on the team to write down 2 things on sticky notes. 1, tasks they genuinely hate doing, things they, practically pay someone else to do. And 2, tasks they absolutely love doing, things they wish they could do more of.
Okay, hates and loves. Then what?
Then you just put them all up on a wall or whiteboard, and you look for the matches. Maybe someone who hates public speaking finds a colleague who actually loves it and wants more practice. They swap. It's such a low-tech, powerful way to uncover that intrinsic motivation and help people align their work, even partially, with what they naturally enjoy and are good at. Find their sweet spot.
I can see how that would create energy.
Totally. And the book points out this creates a kind of positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
You tap into motivation, which leads to progress. That visible progress then motivates other people. Their enthusiasm fuels more energy, and so on. As Heath puts it, progress is the spark that makes believers of skeptics. Progress itself becomes the motivator.
That's a great line. Okay, this is all incredibly practical.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, there were a few other really neat, actionable ideas mentioned in the summary, like asking, what's the goal of the goal?
Yeah, such a simple question, but it cuts deep. When you start something new, ask, what are we really trying to achieve here? Beyond the stated objective, what's the ultimate success criteria? How will we know if we've really succeeded or failed? It forces you to be careful and maybe even a bit skeptical about the goals you set.
Prevent you from just chasing metrics that don't actually matter for the real goal. I could see that. What else? The miracle question.
Yes, borrowed from therapy, but so useful here. You ask someone, or yourself, imagine tonight, while you're asleep, a miracle happens. The problem that's stressing you out is completely solved. Poof, gone. But it happened while you were sleeping, so when you wake up tomorrow, you don't know the miracle occurred. What are the very first small things you notice as you go about your day that tell you, wow, the miracle must have happened?
That's brilliant. It makes you visualize the outcome, the tangible signs of success, instead of just focusing on the problem itself.
Exactly. It helps define what solved actually looks and feels like in concrete terms.
Very cool. And there was also that subtle point about motivation, looking backward versus forward.
Right. The advice is, when you're early on in pursuing a big goal, look back at the progress you've already made. That builds momentum and reinforces that sense of progress. But when you're getting close to the finish line, switch your focus, look forward at how little is left. That anticipation pulls you across the line.
A little psychological trick to keep you going. I like it. And lastly,
a great quote from Frank Blake, the former Home Depot CEO. You get what you celebrate. It's a reminder that recognition, acknowledging progress and effort is one of the most powerful and often underused tools for sustaining motivation. praise, appreciation. It's like free fuel for keeping the progress going.
Free fuel. That's a good way to put it. Wow. Okay. What an incredibly rich deep dive into reset.
Hmm.
It really hammers home that making real change isn't about just random effort or trying harder across the board. It's about being strategic, finding those high leverage points, being ruthless about eliminating waste, and then really aligning all your energy to make that meaningful progress happen.
Absolutely. There are so many actionable takeaways here, from just understanding how powerful simply seeing progress can be, all the way to that practical downtime checklist for spotting waste. It really encourages all of us, I think, to be more curious observers of the systems we're in, whether that's our work, our teams, or even just our own habits, and to trust more in finding and tapping into that motivation that's often already there. So maybe a question for you listening. Based on all this, what's one specific reset, big or small, that you're now thinking about for your own work or life?
That's a great question to ponder. And maybe one final thought to leave you with, something the book draws from the quality guru W. Edwards Deming. He famously said, "Every system is perfectly designed to get the results it gets." Think about that. If you're not getting the results you want, the issue might not be the people. It might be the system itself. So what does that insight mean for how you approach changing what's not working around you?